Alrighty. Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of the Question Period. Today is September 17th, 2025, and we are en route for another episode of Question Period. Mark Carney is going to be there against Pierre. I'm going to say Justin Trudeau against Pierre Poilievre. This is going to be their second time face to face. So this should be pretty spicy. There's a lot of things on the move right now. There's a lot of tensions, especially with America trade, with housing, with our budget, with the fact that Liberal MPs are literally leaving. That's right. Chrystia Freeland is leaving, but she's not leaving. Stephen Guilbeault is leaving. There's a lot of things that we're going to be looking at before Question Period begins. So I do hope that you stick around to be able to watch all the news and for the debates. And of course, the only thing that I'm going to ask of you for being here is for you guys to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It does really help push these debate videos, debate streams out further. This is going to be pretty good. Their second time. People saying good afternoon, gang. Has it started? We've started. That's for sure. We've started. Good to see everyone here. People saying I was late because I had to put my pants on. I'm wearing jeans, believe it or not. I'm actually wearing jeans. The weather is changing. I'm wearing jeans and my Crocs. I thought Crocs were really dumb. I was super anti-Crocs. And then my wife was like, we got to get some Crocs. So I entertained it. And now I'm that guy that wears Crocs. I hate it. I hate what I've turned into. Okay, we're going to start off with some Canadian news. A couple of stories, and then we're going to take a look at some American stuff, actually, just to kill the time. Have a little fun. So this right here is a pretty interesting story. This is the second time now in the past couple of months that something like this has happened. 3 flights landing in Calgary this week were targeted with bomb threats. Here's how this was handled. Now, of course, the bomb threats is not something that happens very often in Canada, but the second time that this has happened in a few matter of months is the fact that Canada wasn't actually the ones that were able to fully respond to these situations, right? NORAD scrambled fighter jets over Calgary on Monday in response to the threats. It was America. I don't know why they said NORAD. It was America that scrambled jets. Oh my goodness. A CF-18 and an F-15 and a refueling tanker aren't typical sights in the skies over a city like Calgary. Many local residents immediately took notice of unusual activity on Monday afternoon, sharing photos and videos of social media and military jets roaring over the city. Later, North American Aerospace, or NORAD, confirmed that it had responded to reports of bomb threats and 3 commercial passenger flights from Germany bound for the Calgary International Airport. It's kind of scary, man. Military aircraft scrambled to escort the planes safely to their destination, with NORAD confirming to CBC News that the planes landed without incident after the threats were determined to be not credible. So how exactly does American military aircraft respond so quickly to a security threat in Canada? The director of the University of Calgary Center for Military Security and Strategic Studies said that NORAD's response was well practiced, well developed, and a significant result of a cooperation between Canada and the United States dating back to the Cold War. In other words, America is just so much better at getting stuff done than what Canada ever could be. So America got it done when Canada couldn't. That's what that basically means, right? We don't have the ability to respond to even our own domestic threats or potential threats, that we rely on America to do that. And then they're quoting back in September of 1957, Canada, the United States agreed to do NORAD. So this is, again, like the elbows up crowd is like, yeah, Canada needs to stand on its own 2 feet, but we can't even have our own jets take a look at what's going on in Vancouver, which happened a couple months ago, right? Where there was somebody that stole a plane from Victoria, hopped over the little ocean, little channel there, went to the Vancouver airport, and it was like, whoa, what the heck's going on? And our own military, our own forces weren't able to assess the situation. It was American fighter jets that flew over. Are they sending us the bill for that? Is that something that we're paying, or is that something that they're paying for? And the same thing now with Calgary. Now, it turns out these threats weren't necessarily, or they weren't credible, so nothing happened, thankfully. But it's just showing that Canada relies so much on America again, right? This is what when Trump says, and we've subsidized Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. A lot of that involves security protection, stuff like this, right? Okay, yeah, this wasn't a big operation, but it was probably hundreds of thousands or several million in fuel and in resources that America had to spend to come and take a look at what we failed to look at, right? Kind of weird.
These jets flying over Calgary Monday were deployed by NORAD out of an abundance of caution in response to a bomb threat. The incident fueled curiosity online.
Well, listen, there was an incident yesterday involving 3 commercial aircraft. What it indicates, I think, for us, what it should indicate for Canadians, is that NORAD did its job, and it did it very, very well. Fighter jets were scrambled. There was a bomb threat, I understand. The RCMP is now in charge of the file.
The minister didn't elaborate on the nature of those threats, but told reporters he's unaware of any other threat to any other Canadian aircraft. Here's what we know. 3 planes from Germany landed without incident at the Calgary International Airport. Germany-based Condor Airlines wrote in a statement, a security alert was issued for its September 15th flight. It was analyzed by experts and relevant authorities. When the plane landed in Calgary, there was a comprehensive safety check, adding, at no time was there a danger to their guests or crew, and NORAD determined the threats weren't credible. One expert says it's up to NORAD to ensure the safety of airspace and those passengers.
If we have a threat against 3 airplanes, all of which are originating in the same country with a similar destination in North America, and you place that in a context, you would take that threat very seriously.
Lloyd Precht says this incident serves as a reminder.
This is one very concrete manifestation. It is a manifestation why Canada needs a robust national security posture, and why, for instance, it is important for Canada to invest in assets such as military aircraft and fighter jets.
CBC.
No, this is why Canada needs a bunch of joint military bases with America so that they can respond to these issues better and quicker, and it would be directly from our soil, right? Like, that's how this is done. There's a weird misconception that we can just always rely on America to come and solve these problems. The worst case is that there would have been a real bomb threat that would have turned into not a threat, but an attack. And America just would have said, well, how about you guys take a look after yourselves for once? And then boom, something happens. That's worst case, right? We luckily got the best case where the threats weren't credible, and it was America that was able to respond quicker than whatever we have the ability, or I guess we're finding out we don't even have the ability to do, right? Well, yeah. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments about that one. Then we got to take a look here at what's going on with Ontario, because the government's financial outlook expects a deficit will grow. Surprise, surprise.
In the midst of a trade war with no end on the horizon, Ontario's Financial Accountability Officer shares a prediction of the province's finances marked by lots of red ink.
The FAO projects that the budget balance will deteriorate from an estimated deficit of $1.3 billion last year to a deficit of $12 billion in this fiscal year.
That's based on a few different factors.
I'm sorry, what?
From an estimated deficit of $1.3 billion last year.
$1.3 billion last year deficit.
To a deficit of $12 billion in this fiscal year.
To a 1.3 billion to 12 billion? Did I hear that correctly? And that's because we are being attacked with these tariffs that are self-imposed, basically, right? Because there's ways for us to navigate these relationships and not have the tariffs, but our Canadian government refuses to comply. So we are in these 10x deficits. It's 10 times worse than what we thought. Let that sink in, everybody.
That's based on a few different factors.
From a projected 1.7% decline in revenue due to a slowing economic outlook and the loss of temporary revenues, combined with a 3.1% increase in spending.
A spokesperson for the Minister of Finance stresses this report's only a snapshot in time, writing in part, As highlighted in the 2025 budget, we remain on a clear path to balance by 2027-28 as we work to protect our economy and make Ontario the most competitive place to do business in the entire G7.
Today, we learned this budget was a fiction. It's not worth the paper it's written on.
The FAO adds that to make the math work.
This is how, let this sink in, okay? This is how messed up Canada is right now. At the federal level, it is the Liberals who are overspending on everything and creating these insane deficits, right? That's Liberal ideology, is to spend, 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 and have no accountability. What are you looking at on screen right now? This is the Ontario Liberal Caucus that is saying your budget is trash. We are in a big deficit. You need to get out of the way. So the provincial Liberals in Ontario are wanting to balance the budget, which is a more conservative trait, whereas Ontario's premier right now is a conservative in big fat quotation marks, and he doesn't care about a budget. He's spending the way Justin Trudeau did. Like, this is, the party names in Canada have like almost no more meaning, right? It doesn't matter if it's liberal or conservative. It's all kind of the same. Like, everyone's just ridiculous, right? And you've heard like things of mentions of people saying uniparty and stuff like that. I mean, look, we're agreeing with what a Ontario Liberal person is doing, throwing out a trash Ontario budget because they are in complete deficits. This is such a backwards time right now in Canada.
It's written on.
The FAO adds that to make the math work, there will have to be changes.
In 3 years, the government is forecasting a balanced budget. We think it, based on our review, it's closer to a deficit of $10 billion. So to achieve that $10 billion gap, it's either revenue measures or spending changes.
Higher taxes or deeper cuts. The caveat is there remains a lot of uncertainty with the trade picture. So a policy change south of the border could dramatically shift these figures. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris.
It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable how messed up Canada truly is right now. It's disgusting. They spend. We don't know how to defend. It's just nothing makes any sense. Everything is corrupt in Canada. And I don't know what the solution is. That's the craziest part. I don't know what the solution is because the parties they've all got these weird agendas and they're all doing some weird stuff. So what are we going to take a look at? Well, what we're going to take a look at next before Parliament opens up and the shit show begins. We're going to take a look at what's going on in America because America is laying down the law, specifically around hatred towards Charlie Kirk. Trump's threat to target radical left after Kirk's killing raises fears that apparently he's trying to silence foes. So the left is not seeing a difference between cancel culture, which is something silly or stupid that you said 10 years ago, to literally people that are glorifying the assassination of Charlie Kirk. U.S. President Trump's is escalating threats to crack down on what he describes as the radical left following Charlie Kirk's assassination, stirring fears that his administration is trying to harness outrage over the killing to suppress political opponents. Interesting. Without establishing any link to last week's shooting, the Republican president and members of his administration have discussed classifying some groups as domestic terrorists. So that would be in regards to Antifa, right? He wants Antifa to be a domestic terrorist group, which honestly is something Canada should consider doing as well. The radical left has done tremendous damage to the country, Trump told reporters, but we're fixing it, he says. And this is how messed up things are in America right now, right? Chief Warrant Officer 2 in a response to Charlie Kirk's murder. Those kids are lucky they no longer have to be raised by Charlie Kirk. This is what a U.S. military serviceman said on Facebook. It looks like That's absurd. That's absurd, right? And then we got to take a look at what's going on mainstream brain rot, CNN, right?
Scott just got all angry, got real mad. Face it, it's gotta be this, it's gotta be this, it's gotta be this. Why can't we have a discussion about how long is it going to take for us to figure out a way to come back together?
Just to be clear, I am angry.
Can we just let him finish his thought, Scott? I'll let you talk.
Because I knew it.
Scott, I'll let you talk in just a second. Go ahead.
Could we spend as much time figuring out how we bridge this and come back together again? You know, I used to have a note on my producer's desk when I did my show that was said, we don't belabor what happens, we try to figure out why it happens and come up with solutions. Right now, all we're doing is belaboring what happened over and over and over and over again. We're not going to sit down and try to figure out how do we stop it. If we want to stop,
got to go after left-wing terrorists.
Yeah.
That's actually exactly the conversation we're having, is we're acknowledging there's a problem.
So anybody who disagrees with you is a left-wing terrorist?
Absolutely not, but if they target a conservative and murder him in brutal fashion, he's probably a left-wing terrorist.
Let me answer your question.
Yes, that person is a murderer. We can all acknowledge that.
You said I am angry, and I'm just telling. I am channeling the emotion.
This is something that Canada fails to do as well. Canada has so many entities that glorify. Like, you've ever heard that Canada's a harbor for terrorists, right? Because that holds a lot of truth. Canada doesn't care about people that are burning the flags, the Canadian flags in the country. They don't care about hate speech to Canada or even Canadians. Canada's priorities are all backwards. It's weird. Canada's a progressive cesspool, and some of that bleeds into America, right? Of course, with the Democrats.
Of millions of conservatives who are angry. They knew Charlie. They loved Charlie. They viewed Charlie as a mainstream conservative Republican voice who talked about issues that millions of Americans believe. He also talked about his faith. And he did it by going to college campuses, which are not normally hospitable to conservatives, and offering his opponents a microphone to have what we always say.
In support of what? In support of what?
Civil discourse.
Not only that, but support of the First Amendment.
And
he
guess
made
what?
sure that people had an opportunity to stand in a room and talk.
He was murdered trying to do what we always say. Why don't we talk to each other? So yes, it's not even been a week. So you're going to have to give us a little grace on being angry about somebody who did what you always say that we should do. Let's talk.
And he got killed. And he got more than a week's grace over two Michigan elected officials who were murdered. Did we give? Was it 3 weeks before we decided to say that there was something wrong with Speaker Pelosi's husband being hit in the head with a hammer?
By a homeless drug addict? I mean, it was terrible that happened. This is not the same kind of case. This is according to the local officials, as Ellie just told us, a clear political motivation of a guy that a lot of us held dear, that a lot of us considered to be somebody who a mainstream voice. He was not an extremist. He was a mainstream voice.
Pelosi's attacker may have been mentally ill, but he was also politically motivated.
Oh my goodness, man. The parallels that these people try to draw is insane. So it's interesting that guy brought up on CNN, one of the hosts, right, said, well, what about these other Democrats that got politically, attacked? Well, that was actually brought up to President Trump in the Oval, in the Oval Room. Let's take a look.
Mr. President, on Charlie Kirk, Mr. President, on Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk, do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to half-staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar.
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And given the killing...
Wow. What a phenomenal answer. But of course, it's not enough, right? Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. They're thinking we got to keep hitting them harder, right? There's no way that Trump could be such a nice person like that. All you had to do is ask. I don't believe it.
of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. Why make the case that violence is only on one side? It seems to take...
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country.
And you're seeing that they do hate the country. They do. The radical left in America hates America. The radical left in Canada hates Canada and Canadians. And we're seeing this time and time and time again. Yet the left keeps propping this ideology up and they keep promoting it as if it's something good. But all that's changing. At least in America, it's changing. I don't know if it's ever going to change in Canada because it's a progressive cesspool. But in America, Trump is taking big action.
Yes. Given with all that's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left-wing violence going on, do you have plans, and actually this is a great opportunity with all these, do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. And they come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, it's got whatever it is. And they're throwing rocks at it.
Yeah. I mean, this is what leadership is. Standing up for your people, standing up against the craziness that exists in your country and bringing patriotism back. And unfortunately, in Canada, patriotism means proud not to be an American. In America, patriotism means proud to be American. So very different cultures, and we're seeing the patriotism rise more in America. And unfortunately, the whole anti-American, sentiment of which kind of makes up Canadian identity is also rising in Canada because of the left-wing leadership. It's gross. It's gross. I hate what's happening in Canada, and I'm liking to see the action that's happening in America. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think I'm an American born in a Canadian's body, but let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Then we're going to take a look at what's going on with Saskatchewan, because Saskatchewan is being attacked by China because Canada attacked China. China's attacking Canada back, specifically our farming industry. And it's sad to see all this happen. So here we go. Let's have a look.
As the days grow shorter, canola farmer Roger Chevreau is putting in long hours harvesting a bumper crop.
I'm probably actually producing the biggest canola crop I ever have in the past. And the challenge, of course, is that does create some issues with bin storage space and some of those other factors.
A 76% tariff from Canada's second largest export market has sent canola prices tumbling. The cost of storage now rising in response.
I was actually talking to one of my elevator agents this morning, and what they charge us to deliver into the elevator has doubled from last year. So it's a significant impact on my cash flow.
I want to thank you for leading a very important delegation to China just recently.
With the multi-billion-dollar prairie industry on the line, Saskatchewan's premier has been tasked to help lead the trade talk charge. Reporting back to Ottawa Tuesday, fresh off a trip with Federal Parliamentary Secretary Cody Blois to Beijing.
This is another step in finding our way through what is a pretty difficult time for a significant Canadian industry.
Widely seen as a response to Canada's 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. China is tariffing other Canadian food products, including canola meal, peas, pork, and seafood as well.
I trust, and I think it's been indicated, there's going to be additional engagement by whether it be federal ministers, maybe the parliamentary secretary as well in the weeks and months ahead. We're going to support all of that work, but that discussion is going to happen over the next while.
There's a tug of war right now between America and China for who gets Canada, right? And that's why you see a lot of sentiment online that Carney sold us out to China, right? Or selling us out to Europe, because he's trying to move away literally off of American dependence, or American being on good relationship with America is basically what we can call that, and trying to quite literally sell us out to places like China and Europe. And there's just going to be so many more geopolitical complications going down that route. The easiest, the best, the safest, the most strategic way for Canada to continue trade is with America. For crying out loud, we can't even respond to a bomb threat that happens at a Calgary airport where American fighter jets and NORAD has to get involved. Canada can't do it themselves. I don't know. It's pathetic. But I think that the inevitability of Canada's, I don't want to call it collapse, but something big is going to be happening, and it's going to happen very soon. And it's probably going to happen when CUSMA goes for review, which is why America is starting to launch CUSMA consultations ahead of the trade pact review.
That is something that we're watching today, even as we keep an eye on the United States, which is today setting the stage for renegotiating the free trade deal for North America. A public consultation begins today to review CUSMA, as we call it here, the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement. It is starting just a day before Prime Minister Mark Carney and a Canadian delegation travel to Mexico to talk about trade. Anis Haidari is in Washington with more on the focus for these discussions to come. Good morning, Anis.
Good morning, Heather. So we are hearing that the U.S. Trade Representative is going to have 45 days of public consultations, and that'll be followed by a public hearing in November. And it's really going to be about just how well what they call the USMCA is working for Americans. Canada tends to call it CUSMA, but whatever you call this, the new NAFTA, basically. This free trade deal is months away from its 6-year anniversary of taking effect. It's not so new, really. And by July 2026, there have to have been reviews by all 3 countries, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, in order to renew this continental free trade deal. But this step by the United States to initiate these consultations, it may be a very initial move towards renegotiating or changing the free trade deal. Donald Trump has praised this deal in the past, sure. I mean, his first administration negotiated it, but he has also criticized CUSMA a lot, and he's added new tariffs to both Canada and Mexico. And so while these consultations are meant to mostly be for Americans, there will likely be some Canadian groups weighing in as well. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce, for example, has said CUSMA cannot be allowed to unravel. In a statement, they said, our economies are deeply integrated. Manufacturers, supply chains, and service providers in both countries depend on this partnership to remain competitive and prosperous. Now, if CUSMA isn't renewed, this deal goes into a sunset period ending by 2036. And that might sound like it's far away, but many industries make deals and choices based on decades-long time frames. So this move by the United States to start this consultation process, it might be just another day in the status quo of trade, or it could be the starting point of even more negotiations and even more change. We're at least likely to see lobbying and on-the-record discussions about what the U.S. likes, doesn't like, needs, and wants in this free trade deal, Heather.
And what's at stake when the Prime Minister visits Mexico, Anis?
Well, CUSMA is a 3-way kind of a deal, of course, right? So Canada and Mexico are also at the table. And it's not that it is a separate deal between Canada and the U.S. and Mexico and the U.S. All 3 parties have to agree on what they're signing when this comes up for renewal. So while the
And we've pissed off America in so many different ways. I mean, for crying out loud, Canada tried to go to Mexico independently and say, hey, guys, let's strike a deal and let's do it without America. It's just you and I. And Mexico said, no way, Jose. That's exactly what Mexico said. No way, Jose. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that to Trump. Are you kidding me? So he's going to make us build another wall. That's not okay. So Canada's been trying to sneak its way and slither its way through this, and it's just not working out. It's literally a ticking time bomb, right?
is consultations are U.S. based. They are a part of how all three countries have to review and agree to renew this deal by July. So what's next for CUSMA is definitely going to be a point of discussion for Prime Minister Mark Carney and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum later this week. Trade is already on their agenda. What the Americans want to change in CUSMA will have to be something that Canada and Mexico also discuss amongst themselves as well. This is not two separate agreements. All three sign the same deal. So America may be consulting with itself about what it wants, but Canada and Mexico are going to be consulting with each other about what all three countries need and what they might need to change to keep Americans at the table. You know, that renewal deadline of July 2026 will likely loom very heavily in the room as Canada's Prime Minister visits Mexico. Heather.
Anis, thank you for everything this morning. I appreciate it. Anis Dari there in our bureau in Washington.
Okay. So long story short, Canada is set up in a really bad position when it comes to these trade negotiations and the renewal, and is going to be ugly. It's not going to be good. That's pretty much how we can summarize that piece. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start taking a look at what is going on in the House of Commons. The doors are opened. I'm looking at it right now on my screen. They're doing statements by members right now. You know the rules. W's and L's when appropriate to do so. Are you guys even awake? Can we get some W's down in the chat? Are you even awake? Hello? Is my microphone on? Okay, we got to wake up because Pierre, I almost said Pierre and Trudeau. I don't miss Trudeau, but I miss the House of Commons with Pierre and Trudeau. I'd be ignorant to say otherwise. So we got Pierre and Carney, and this is their second round. It's going to be good. Hopefully it's going to be epic. Hopefully we can see Pierre really start to smack down the way that he used to, right? Might take a little bit of time to get into the groove, but we'll see. One day it's just going to click. So without further ado, here we go, folks. All I ask is that you like the video and you subscribe to the channel so that we can continue doing these live stream debates. Here we go.
Unity. He always worked with integrity, vision, humanity, and being near the community. We could always trust him. He was always there. He was always present. He was really likable, and he had a huge heart. That's what we all knew about him. He was also a loving father and a devoted family man. He always talked about his family, who he loved dearly. We will always remember his spirit, his generosity, and everything that he accomplished for Mirabel. Annick, Olivier, Maëlle, Mr. and Mrs. Charbonneau, Mayor François Bélanger, on behalf of everyone from Mirabel who's here right now, and on behalf of the Bloc Québécois, we offer our deepest condolences, and may we continue to be inspired by him.
L'honorable député d'Ottawa, Vanier-Gloucester.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa, Vanier-Gloucester.
Third week of September, we celebrate National Payroll Week, a moment to recognize the professionals who ensure Canadian workers are paid accurately and on time. Chaque cycle de paie
Each pay cycle is more than just an administrative procedure. Pay cycles are a cornerstone of employee well-being. They provide accuracy, transparency, and trust. Pay allows workers to meet their daily needs, plan for the future, and build financial security for themselves.
Professionals, thank you for your integrity and the essential work you do to keep Canada paid and strengthen financial confidence. Merci également aux...
I would also like to thank the volunteers at the Payroll Institute who support these efforts through their work and through the services they provide.
The leadership of Brian Burgess, Chair of the Board, and Peter Tsanetakis, President and CEO of the National Payroll Institute, both here today. Their guidance and supports employee well-being and organizational success. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The honourable member for Swift Current Grasslands Kindersley.
It's been 6 months and the so-called new Liberal government seems like it's the same as the old one. At first, the Prime Minister sounded different from Justin Trudeau, but you'll find that as time goes by, they are using the same old Liberal playbook. He hinted at fast-tracking and building a pipeline. But what actually happened? He created a major projects bureaucracy instead to try and fast-track big projects. Not a single pipeline is on the major projects list as they re-announce previous projects that are already under construction. They kept in place bad anti-energy policies from the Trudeau era, C-69, C-48, the oil and gas production cap, the industrial carbon tax, to name a few. Enbridge, a Canadian energy company, is building a $700 million pipeline project. The problem is it's not in Canada, it's in the United States of America. Canadians will have to wait for a Conservative government to support our world-class energy sector that will cut bad Liberal policies, build a strong economy to get the job done, and restore the promise of our great country.
The honourable member for Brampton South.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to reflect on a wonderful summer in Brampton South. I would like to use this opportunity to share my sincere thanks to all residents who joined me at my annual summer barbecue. This summer, I attended many community events and heard one message clearly: public safety remains a top priority. As the Prime Minister has said, we will strengthen bail reform, impose tougher sentences on home invasion, extortion, and repeat violent offenders. We will invest directly in our law enforcement. Mr. Speaker, keeping our communities safe requires every level of government to do its part. Provinces must provide resources to courts and law enforcement to keep dangerous offenders behind bars. Together, we will build safer streets for Brampton and for all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Brandon Souris.
Canadians are paying the price for this Prime Minister's reckless spending, skyrocketing 8.4% since he took office. Spending on high-priced consultants up by 37% to $26 billion. Spending on the bureaucracy itself up another 6% to $63 billion. Experts are clear their spending is out of control. Yesterday at committee, the top financial watchdog stated, quote, "At this point, it's impossible for us and for you as parliamentarians to assess the likelihood or probability of the government hitting any fiscal target." Yikes. And it doesn't stop there. The watchdog went further, slamming the Liberals' lack of accountability. Quote, "I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors, which causes a considerable degree of concern." End quote. No kidding. Canadians are concerned as well. With more spending, more debt, and more bureaucracy piling up every year, when will this government finally show restraint and put Canada back on a responsible fiscal track, or is that just another broken Liberal promise?
The honourable member for Nipissing-Temiskaming.
Monsieur le Président, dear colleagues, please join me in wishing the city of North Bay a happy 100th birthday. And even if it's just 100 years old, it's still a city that is just getting started. And here's why. With its modern infrastructure, higher level education centers, a strategic location at the crossroads of highways 11 and 17, access to rail and air transportation, North Bay, nicknamed a gateway to opportunity, is truly a gateway to east-west
hit the like button, folks, on the stream if you haven't yet already done that.
And for those of you who've been there, you know that it is a beautiful city. It has breathtaking scenery and wonderful recreational amenities, and much more. But most important are the citizens of the city of North Bay, the wonderful people. For 100 years, they've shaped this great city, and it now offers a high quality of life and is therefore a great place to raise a family and build a future. The city's centennial celebration, Mr. le Président, has mobilized hundreds of volunteers who have highlighted
The honourable member for the honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Speaker, this Liberal Prime Minister promised change. Like Liberals before him, he's breaking his promises. He promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. He's actually delivered the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. He promised build, baby, build, but he continues to support Bill C-69, the Block, Baby, Block Act. He promised to double the pace of construction, but home building is actually declining. He promised jobs and opportunity and then delivered an unemployment crisis. He promised less spending, but he's spending more. He promised elbows up, and then he put his elbows down. This Prime Minister said the things he thought Canadians wanted to hear during the election, and then he did the opposite. During his time as a temporary foreign worker in the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister was famously called the unreliable boyfriend. 6 months into this relationship, Canadians are starting to see why. Canada, it turns out, he's just not that into you.
The honourable member for Hamilton Mountain.
Known as Steel Town for many reasons, including a long-standing role as the centre of steel production in Canada. Stelco and ArcelorMittal Dofasco still produce steel in Hamilton, and we have derivatives like Walters Group on Hamilton Mountain, which creates beautiful architectural steel, including the beautiful tree-inspired beams that hold up the ceiling of this very room. Thousands upon thousands of workers across the Golden Horseshoe rely on the steel industry, but steel production is crucial for all of Canada. We need a steel industry to be a viable G7 nation. The 50% U.S. tariffs have been a massive challenge to our previously integrated industry. I meet regularly with those affected, and I know how serious and engaged our government and our Prime Minister have been.
Are you fed up with the tariffs?
Sustaining Canada's steel industry is a top priority.
Why don't you start working with Trump then?
Speaker, and with Canadian steel, we'll build the strongest economy in the G7.
Oral questions.
Oral questions. Questions. All right. Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Pierre Poilievre.
C'est quoi l'ampleur?
What is the scope of the Liberal deficit?
One question. Wow.
Mr. Speaker, first, I would like to welcome the new pages here in Parliament. There will be a new budget from the government released on November 4th, and that will be the biggest investment budget in generations for Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Biggest deficit, maybe.
How big is the deficit that the Prime Minister is running?
There you go. There you go. This is the Pierre that people want to see.
Mr. Speaker, I'm looking forward with the Minister of Finance to releasing the budget on the 4th of November. That budget will contain the biggest investment in this country, in this country's future in a generation. Building homes, building new port infrastructure, new trade corridors, new energy infrastructure, building the strongest economy in the G7.
No. We're in so much debt.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Usually, the current government presents the deficit at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Yeah, before the spending.
6 months have gone by, and we still don't know how big the deficit is. This means a lot of uncertainty and pushes away investment and kills 86,000 jobs. It's the first time in the country's history that the Prime Minister won't tell us what the deficit is 6 months into the fiscal year. He says he's a budget expert, so does he know how big his deficit is? Yes,
dude, he's going to move the numbers around at the last day
to
make it look not as bad as what it really is.
I'd like to thank him for the compliment. Yes, I am a fiscal budget expert. Yes, I know that. Thank you. And I know that the current economic context here in Canada, and what's causing uncertainty is a trade war. And we have to control what we can control.
My goodness.
And that's investment in our future.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, surely, if he was such an expert, he would know the size of his own deficit. It's now halfway through the fiscal year. 6 months have gone by, and he has announced $40 billion of additional spending. Deficits drive up inflation, grocery prices, housing costs, and interest rates. They drive out investment from our country and uncertainty that destabilizes our economy. That's why every other prime minister in Canadian history has announced the deficit at the beginning of the fiscal year. We're 6 months in. Does he even know the size of his own deficit?
He doesn't. He's just spending like crazy right now.
Mr. Speaker, I know many things. I know many things. And one of the things I know, the member opposite, the leader of the opposition, just mentioned interest rates. One thing I know is that Canadian interest rates are much lower than American interest rates.
Oh my goodness.
The country's fiscal situation is strong because this government has a plan to grow this economy, and we will keep doing it.
There you go. It's always with the anti-American sentiment. Proven right again. Patriotism in Canada is anti-American.
The collapsing economy is bringing down interest rates, but the financial expert doesn't even know what his own deficit is. But another financial expert spoke yesterday. The parliamentary budget officer said the deficit will absolutely be higher because of additional spending. He said he doesn't know what the government's fiscal anchors are because they do not exist. He says the labor market sucks and wages are not going up. These are quotes. Is this why Liberal members on the committee who heard those truth bombs threatened that the Prime Minister would fire the parliamentary budget officer after 166 days?
Wow.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I don't recognize that, Mr. Speaker. I don't recognize that characterization. I just appointed the parliamentary budget officer, and this government does have fiscal anchors. This government has fiscal anchors. We are going to spend less so the country can invest more. We are going to balance the operational budget in 3 years. We are going to have a declining level of debt, and we're going to do all of that because we're building the strongest economy in the G7 for Canadians.
This guy thinks it's a joke, man.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
And the Prime Minister made the appointment of the parliamentary budget officer temporary so that he could hold a sword over his head and threaten him if he speaks the truth about the financial mess the Prime Minister has made. That's what you remember? You know, to a government that doesn't know how to count, there is nothing more terrifying than a man armed with a calculator.
Wow.
And this Prime Minister wants to silence the parliamentary budget officer from telling the truth about the fiscal mess that he has created under his watch. So will he, Mr. Speaker, legalize math, make the parliamentary budget officer's position permanent, and tell us how big the deficit is?
That's what I voted for right there. When I cast my ballot in favor of Pierre, it was for him to talk like that.
Mr. Speaker.
With respect to consultations on making the parliamentary budget officer's position permanent, I look forward to speaking to the Leader of the Opposition, le chef de bloc,
the Leader of the Bloc Québécois,
of other parties in Parliament, so we have a consensus on that appointment. I welcome that opportunity. We will do it at this. Yes, because this is the new spirit. Mr. Speaker, the new spirit of collaboration.
He has no idea what he's doing. Pierre gets up to clap.
The honourable member.
Some conservatives got up to clap with Pierre.
The honourable member for Ballet-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, here's an opportunity for cooperation. We've heard a lot of speculation in recent hours about the possibility of the government tabling this afternoon something that goes against the notwithstanding clause in the Constitution. But there is a poll or a survey with a very large consensus in Quebec in terms of the value of state secularism. Can he commit to respecting Quebec's province's right of using the notwithstanding clause even in a preventative manner? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, one of the responsibilities that are the most important of the government is to defend the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada. It's the job of the Supreme Court to decide whether something is legal or whether it's legal to use the notwithstanding clause. again and again. And we'll see with the ruling what that is. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. That notwithstanding clause is in the Canadian Constitution from 1982 that Quebec never signed. René Lévesque wrote the notwithstanding clause in each of his bills after the Constitution was adopted. And the Prime Minister is undermining Pierre Elliott Trudeau's legacy. And he seems to be doing more damage to Quebec than Pierre Elliott Trudeau did, the Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, not at all. That's not correct at all. It's a ruling from the Supreme Court in terms of the use of the correct use of the notwithstanding clause that will decide this. It's simple. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, in 43 years, Quebec and all governments combined have never signed up for the Canadian Constitution because it does not allow us to defend the French language and state secularism. The government seems to be hiding behind this court, and they're asking the judges to change the Canadian Constitution in their place. We want the government to respect the consensus in Quebec, and if they want to reopen the Constitution, we're very open to that. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Interesting.
Mr. Speaker. This is the legislative branch. There is a judiciary, and this will be a decision for the Supreme Court and not for members of Parliament, whether they're from Quebec or the rest of Canada.
The Honourable Member for Carleton Trail Eagle Creek.
The Prime Minister promised to cap spending, but is now set to double the deficit. Another broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch. Here's what the PBO, Canada's financial watchdog, said about the PM's economic record. Quote, the deficit will absolutely be higher. Quote, I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors. Quote, the labour market sucks. Wages are not going up. My question is this. How high will the deficit go? And what is this government's fiscal guardrail?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Ministre des Finances.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
So happy to see that our Conservative colleagues are so eager to see the great budget we're going to present on the 4th of November.
This guy just still blindly supports corruption.
It's going to be a generational investment in the future of this nation, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build our country. We're going to protect our communities. We're going to empower Canadians. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7. We're going to build like never before. We're going to build the Canada of the 21st century because you know what, Mr. Speaker? We're the true north, strong and free.
The Honourable Member for Carleton Trail Eagle Creek.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the PBO confirmed the deficit will be higher. Reports indicate it could even push $100 billion. Canadians know that massive Liberal deficits drive inflation. They pay for it at the grocery store as food inflation is 70% above target. And as a result, 25% of households can't afford to put food on the table. Will the Prime Minister admit that having no fiscal anchor and doubling the deficit will only drive inflation higher?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the colleagues for giving me the opportunity to share good news with this House, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the rate has gone down, Mr. Speaker, 2.5% today. The Bank of Canada just announced, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives should celebrate. Consumers are celebrating, businesses are celebrating, Canada is celebrating, Mr. Speaker. One thing that it tells to all Canadians, our plan is working. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
The PBO, Canada's top budget watchdog, has painted a dismal picture of the Prime Minister's economic record, saying, quote, the labour market sucks and wages are not going up. And it gets worse for this Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, with his big plan to split the budget into operating and capital. But the PBO is not fooled by the smoke and mirrors. He said, quote, "The bottom line of government will not change. The international public sector standards that everyone uses to measure the deficit and levels of debt will not change." Turns out debt is debt, Mr. Speaker. So can the Prime Minister tell us just how much Liberal debt he's adding to Canada's bottom line?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, in the last election only 6 months ago, Canadians chose the Liberal government. They chose the Liberal government because they know they need investment.
Out
they
of
need
fear-mongering.
investment in the big projects that are going to drive those great jobs all across the country. They need investment in the skills training that helps evolve the next generation of workers. And they need investment in food for kids, in dental care for adults, and in the many ways that our government can support Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
However the Liberals want to try and spin their massive deficits, Mr. Speaker, the top financial watchdog in the country says there's only one bottom line, and we'll trust the PBO's word over 10 years of Liberal deficits any day, Mr. Speaker. And with this plan to split the budget, says if the Prime Minister has forgotten that they're all linked to the same bank account, and there's really only one taxpayer. Right. So with the deficit set to double, let's just call a spade a spade. Will the Prime Minister admit he's really just cooking the books and hoping Canadians don't notice? Right.
There you go. That's exactly what he's going to be doing.
Minister of Industry.
Good news today, the Bank of Canada has reduced interest rate to 2.5%. This is something that all entrepreneurs, all businesses
Like robots, they can't actually say anything productive. They just regurgitate the same points.
Across the country this summer that we need to be there for businesses that are trying to pivot and adapt. That's why we put $5 billion on the table to help them. And meanwhile, we're going around the world attracting foreign direct investments because we need to build Canada stronger.
Here we go. The Honourable Member for Middlesex, London.
The Parliamentary Budget Officer, Canada's top financial watchdog, just ripped the Liberal job record, saying, and I quote, "The labour market sucks. Wages aren't going up. 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs since taking office. Youth unemployment is over 14%, and Canada now has the second highest unemployment in the G7. Classic, another Liberal bait and switch. So, Mr. Speaker, I have one simple question. Does the Prime Minister have the guts to admit that his so-called jobs plan has completely failed Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With everything going on in the world, we do understand the pressures that Canadians, particularly young Canadians, are facing. This new government is getting busy with nation-building projects, which will create quality jobs, quality careers, and opportunities, in particular for youth across this country, including things like 18,000 jobs during construction of a new Darlington nuclear project in Ontario, for example. Hundreds of jobs in critical minerals and mining in Saskatchewan and British Columbia. Building the strongest economy in the G7 means more opportunities for youth and for all Canadians.
Like a broken record.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière. The Liberal Prime Minister promised to cap government spending, but he is slated to double the deficit. Another broken promise, another Liberal deception. Yesterday, the PBO provided a scathing assessment of the first 6 months of this.
Hey, if you guys haven't yet already, hit that like button, hey, and subscribe to the channel.
He said at his committee appearance,
it's free to do, and it helps.
I don't know if the government currently has fiscal guardrails. There's no clarity, no structure. Even the independent PBO does not know. Can anyone in this government tell us how deep into the red this Prime Minister's deficit will sink? The Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to see that the Conservatives will be here until November 4th. Us as well, because on November 4th we'll be presenting a generational investment plan for Canadians. We'll be building our country, protecting our communities, and we're going to build a strong Canadian economy. Together with Canadians, we will be building the most dynamic economy in the G7.
Strongest, right? Strongest economy in the G7.
We need to build the country of tomorrow, and long live the true North, strong and free. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Do you know what the PBO said? He confirmed that the deficit will be even higher. It may even reach $100 billion. Canadians know that massive Liberal deficits fuel inflation. They're paying the price at the grocery store, and food inflation is 70% above target. Instead of intimidating the PBO by constantly reminding him that he is only here on an interim basis and his days are counted, will the Prime Minister admit that doubling the deficit without fiscal guardrails will only worsen inflation and punish families? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians have given us a clear mandate to increase their purchasing power and free up the Canadian economy. And this means a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. Increasing the purchasing power of young Canadians also means getting rid of GST for new home purchases. This also means unifying our Canadian economy with an increase in GDP across our country. Good jobs for Canadians and for young Canadians elsewhere in Saskatchewan and across the country. The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, the Canadian Judges Act is clear, and I quote Section 3, only persons who have members of the bar of a province for at least 5 years may be appointed judges of a superior court of a province. However, Robert Lackey was appointed judge of the Superior Court of Quebec, and even though he's only been a member of the bar for 7 years. My question to the Minister of Justice is simple. In his opinion, does Robert Lackey meet the legal criteria to be a judge of the Superior Court of Quebec? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, the Canadian process for appointing judges is independent, and we want to keep it this way. Appointing judges is an important part of our democracy, and it protects our system, and we will always defend the independence of our courts. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, let's talk about their rigorous independent judge appointment system. Well, with Robert Leckie, their process has just made an appointment that violates the Canadian Judges Act. In our opinion, he was appointed precisely because he's a Liberal, and the Liberals expect him to defend Liberal positions on secularism and the French language, even within the courts of Quebec. Mr. Speaker, Quebec should be selecting Quebec judges. But in the near term, will the minister finally remove Justice Leckie from office?
Quebec with Quebec problems, huh?
That we have a different perspective. We expect the justice to make decisions independently based on the law. The rule of law in this country is a fundamental pillar of our democracy, with which we may not show compromise. We must insist that we have an independent process based on recommendations by people who can assess the validity of the nominations that come before us. We appoint judges based on their quality and on their merit, not on their partisan affiliation. I hope all members will support the independence of this essential process in a democracy.
The Honourable Member for New Tecumseh, Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' talk is as empty as Canadians' cupboards. It took 40 years before Toronto's largest food bank saw 1 million annual visits. But under this Liberal government, demand has exploded. 2 million, then 3 million, and now 4 million visits from hungry Canadians. The Prime Minister says, judge me on food prices. And Canadians are judging him as they stand in the longest food bank lines this country has ever seen. How many more will be forced there when he doubles the deficit?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
One of the best ways to deal with food inflation is to give Canadians real opportunities. And that's what we're doing by building a strong economy, a building economy, Mr. Speaker. We are building big, building bold, and building right now. We're building with major projects. I was pleased to stand with the Prime Minister last week in Edmonton, where we announced the first tranche of project through the Major Projects Office. We announced our plan to build homes, Mr. Speaker, using Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, Canadian unionized worker, Mr. Speaker. This will create hundreds of thousands of new jobs, apprenticeship opportunities, training opportunities, real careers. We are optimistic about the future of this country, Mr. Speaker, and I hope the opposition gets on board.
Honourable Member for New Tecumseh, Gwillimbury.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that minister should go to a food bank and tell Canadians lining up there just how good they have it. Well, he pats himself on the back. Food bank workers on the front lines are calling the situation horrific. 1 in 4 households are struggling to afford food. Parents are skipping meals so their kids can eat. And while families go hungry, Liberal spending keeps driving grocery prices even higher. Will this Liberal government keep spending until every single table in this country is empty?
I think that's their goal.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Keep blaming it on America.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservative leader was spending this summer trying to get his job back, we crisscrossed the country getting feedback from Canadians with respect to what they want to see in this budget. Their message was resoundingly clear. They want us to spend less on government operations and invest more in our economy, in national projects, in nation building. Mr. Speaker, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7.
The strongest economy. They keep just hammering that same point, eh?
The Prime Minister said Canadians would judge him above their own targets. Since the Liberals took office, food inflation has skyrocketed by 40%. Another broken Liberal promise. Families are struggling to keep up. I don't know if these ministers shop for groceries themselves, so let me put this simply.
I don't think they
Beef
do.
is up 33%. Canned soup up 26%. Potatoes up 16%.
Wow.
Will the Prime Minister admit that doubling their deficit will only make food inflation worse?
The Honourable Member, the Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives propose cuts, but we're building over on this side, Mr. Speaker, and they should get on board with that. Every time they have a chance to stand with Canadians, whether it's to vote for childcare, whether it's to support food programs, whether it's to make sure that families get what they need to thrive and survive, including, Mr. Speaker, the investment in skilled trades, the investment in unions, the investment in actual Canadian work.
You're
Mr. Speaker,
someone
they fail because they have no vision. Their vision is to cut, cut, cut.
Wow. Member for Fort McMurray, Cold Lake.
Families can't eat the word salad served up by that minister, unfortunately. Food inflation is rising, and 1 in 4 families are currently struggling to put food on the table. Meanwhile, Liberal deficits are fueling inflation, driving prices even higher. Liberals are more interested in feeding bureaucracies in Ottawa than tackling the serious problems facing Canadian families that are struggling to put nutritious food on the table and in their kids' lunch boxes. Food banks and school lunch programs are Band-Aids. We need real solutions to the real root cause of the problem, rising food costs. Will the minister cut the deficit so food...
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, this government is protecting Canadians, and that includes seniors. Their safety, their right to housing, their retirement security, and seniors are living longer. They're living healthier lives than ever, and this government will always support and empower Canadian seniors. They're an important
I don't think seniors are too happy, man.
And we are showing action, like cutting red tape and constructing purpose-built housing so seniors can age with dignity in their own communities.
They can't buy groceries on
that seniors have the funds they need
CPP
to
or
retire
whatever.
and to be able to afford groceries through programs like old age security.
They can't afford it. Cost of living so damn high.
For Poilievre, Jacques Cartier. Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Prime Minister. For 10 years under this Liberal government, Canadians have been facing a steady rise in the cost of living. Housing, food, energy, and other things are placing a heavy burden on families, seniors, and young people. In Poilievre, Jacques Cartier, and all across the country, people are expressing deep concern about the future. They're discouraged. Can the Prime Minister tell us what he's going to do for seniors, young people, and families to ease this burden and give them a bit of hope? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Bringing down the cost of living and increasing Canadians' spending power is our commitment to Canadians. That's our top priority, and that's why the first thing we did was cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We eliminated the GST on first home buyers. And we won't stop there, Mr. Speaker. With the investments we're making to build Canada, to create good jobs, well-paid jobs, we're not only going to have the strongest economy in the G7, but we'll be able to finance important social programs like childcare and home building all across the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
For South Shore St. Margaret.
Mr. Speaker, as this government focuses on nation-building projects that will connect our country, trade workers will be in high demand. They need to be able to move freely and have their skills recognized across provinces and territories. If we are going to deliver on building a stronger, more inclusive economy, can the Minister
What the
of
hell
Jobs
does that
and Families
even mean,
update the House
inclusive
on
economy?
how our government is working to support and improve labor mobility across the country?
Guys, we need a more inclusive economy, apparently.
Well, Mr. Speaker, great question. And as the Conservatives laugh over there, it's clear that many of them haven't ever met a laborer who actually has barriers to getting across the country to get to good jobs. And in fact, we have worked diligently with provinces and territories to make sure that no matter where the work is, if there's a worker that wants to do it, they can get there and they can take that job. So, Mr. Speaker, they can laugh all they want, but we're doing the hard work over here.
The honourable member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Mr. Speaker, crime, chaos, and fear are ravaging communities right across Canada after 10 years of Liberals prioritizing soft-on-crime laws. In Saskatchewan, a man out on release after 59 prior convictions murdered 11 people. In Peel Region, half of the suspects in a violent carjacking ring were out on bail. Wow. And in Vancouver, just 40 repeat offenders arrested 6,000 times. Yet this government takes no action. Why are the Liberals clinging to laws that let dangerous criminals back on the streets instead of keeping Canadians safe?
Good question.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the second bill that we introduced in this House was C2, our Stronger Borders measure, which gives police the tools to deal with many issues, including organized crime. The next thing that we are doing is we are going to stiffen bail and make sentencing a lot more strict.
She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. We're going to read her script. That's how confident she is.
And we're going to make it tougher for violent offenders to get bail and impose stricter sentences. Mr. Speaker, we are taking action on this front to make sure that Canadians are safe.
Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
We've been listening to that for 5 months. Empty promises, empty words. Last year, 256 people were charged with homicide while on release. That's 256 Canadians who would be alive today if violent criminals were behind bars. And if Conservatives' 3 strikes you're outlaw were in place, these repeat offenders would have been in jail, not destroying families. Nearly 5 months since taking office, this Prime Minister has failed to act. If he truly wants to crack down on violent crime, will he back our common sense Conservative law to keep criminals in jail and to restore safe streets?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Dangerous people who commit serious crimes should not be walking free in our streets if they pose a public safety threat to Canadians. Mr. Speaker, I have good news for my colleague opposite. He will need to...
I couldn't...
Conservatives agree with that one.
I couldn't hear, so...
Dangerous criminals should not be walking in our streets. Like, that's absolutely correct.
Mr. Speaker, I
Yet
thank
they are.
My Conservative colleagues for the applause. I hope they will meet that with their votes when it comes time to support the legislation. We'll be advancing.
You asshole.
Good news for my friend opposite, Mr. Speaker. This legislation will include serious reforms to make stricter bail conditions for people who are repeat violent offenders. It will have harsher sentences for those people who would pose risk to the public safety. Mr. Speaker, we will do what we can to strengthen Canada's laws. We will do what we can to bring the provinces along with us. My only hope is that all members of this House will do the right thing and vote for the legislation when it comes forward.
The Honourable Member for Niagara South.
Mr. Speaker, Daniel Senecal raped and choked a 12-year-old boy in my riding. He was sentenced to 18 months, but was released 6 months early. While on parole, this monster attacked and sexually abused his next victim, little E, 3-year-old little girl, almost killing her, leaving her fighting for her life before the firefighters arrived on the scene. This failed Liberal justice policies have allowed repeat child sex offenders to be let out early. Will the Liberals introduce changes to the criminal code today and bring home justice for victims like little E?
The Honourable Minister.
Holy smokes.
Mr. Speaker, I sincerely thank my honourable colleague for raising this question on the floor of the House of Commons. And such horrific acts can be met only with condemnation from members of Parliament from both sides of the aisle. As we seek to move forward with legislation, we will be restricting conditional sentence orders when it comes to sexual crimes and sexual crimes against children. We will do what we can to make sure that we work with provinces so they can properly fund their systems as well, to ensure that we work together to keep Canadians safe. My hope is that crime and horrific circumstances such as these will not be used as partisan fodder. I will work with my colleague opposite to advance kind of changes that will keep children safe in this country. Sincerely.
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles.
Yes, unfortunate because they don't prioritize that.
Our Conservative leader has announced that he will put an end to the Liberals' wave of violent crime by passing the Three Strikes Act. This act will prevent criminals convicted of 3 serious offenses from being eligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. It will also keep violent criminals behind bars longer, keeping them away from their victims and off our streets. Does the Prime Minister need some good ideas to fight crime? If so, here's one. Will he take it?
The Honourable Minister.
To be honest, it probably will.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to good ideas, I can assure my colleague opposite that I have been taking them from law enforcement, from provincial governments, and from stakeholders in the public safety space since the day of my appointment to this position. Mr. Speaker, we will be introducing legislation that will strengthen Canada's bail system, making it harder for violent repeat offenders, for those who commit serious crimes with organized criminal organizations, including auto theft, home invasion. They will have to wait only a matter of weeks before this legislation comes forward. My hope is they will support the common sense measures that will help keep communities safe in every part of this country.
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, in recent years, we saw C5 come into force, which affected sentencing and allowed for people to be easily released on bail. That was put in place by the former Justice Minister, David Lametti, who's currently an advisor to PMO. Will the Prime Minister be listening to David Lametti, or will he see reason and listen to the Conservatives? The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, this is the second time this week I've received a question about a piece of legislation that the questioner has seemingly not read. Bill C5, among other things, actually restricts the use of conditional sentencing orders for serious crimes such as attempted murder, such as advocating genocide. Mr. Speaker, we want to continue to put measures in place that will have harsher sentences for violent repeat offenders. We will also advance reforms that are going to help make it harder to get bail for people who pose a public safety threat. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that all members of this House pull the partisan rhetoric out of such a serious issue as public safety and get together to advance reforms that will protect.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
The Prime Minister promised Canadians that he would build 500,000 homes a year, doubling housing starts. Instead, housing starts are down 16%, and his $13 billion brand new bureaucracy might someday maybe build a grand total of 4,000 homes. That's 1.6% of what we already built. It's a rounding error. Is this really the government's housing strategy, to hope that Canadians don't know basic math?
Yeah. 3.25 million is the cost per home.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives seem a little confused, so let me help here. First, the projects that we announced were just the start. Good idea. Second, they can support up to 45,000 new affordable homes. Third, we have many, many more projects on the way. Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time the Conservatives have gotten the numbers wrong, so I'd like to invite them to take a moment, rework their talking points, and we have no intention of slowing down. It's time to build.
13 billion on 4,000 homes. And we're the problem.
Do you solve for the housing crisis by blowing $13 billion on a fourth bureaucracy after the first 3 already failed? Those numbers are right. And who's leading this master plan? The former mayor of Vancouver. He doubled rent and jacked up home prices by 150%. And just to make the circus more complete, he handed a key role to his buddy from Toronto, the same one who slapped a 700% hike on development charges and oversaw home prices double when she was there. Is this really the definition of success for that minister?
Yeah. These people are cancerous. They truly are.
Mr. Speaker, well, once again, we hear the Conservatives trashing local officials, government.
Trashing policies, dude.
We're talking about mayors they're talking about councillors, they're talking about public servants, rather than looking at themselves. And many of us
Oh my goodness.
have dealt with conservative governments who did nothing for affordable housing, who did nothing to improve affordability for Canadians. We're taking action and working with our partners at the local level.
What? That is gaslighting.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised to double housing starts, but they're down 16%. It is no surprise when you see who's in charge. The Housing Minister oversaw a 150% surge in home prices and doubled rents in Vancouver, while the new $13 billion housing czar helped hike Toronto home building taxes by 700%. When will the Prime Minister admit that all he's doubling are gatekeepers and deficits?
Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll just remind the members opposite, we are focused on building affordable housing at a scale never seen before, certainly not by conservative governments who vacated the field on affordable housing for their decade in power. That set us back enormously. We are now building back, and we are looking forward. We're going to employ Canadians in building affordable housing at a scale that is unprecedented. We expect the members opposite to support our work. Thank you.
The honourable member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, in Montmorency-Charlevoix, the housing crisis is very real and deeply felt. We're not alone. Across Quebec, people are suffering. A recent study showed that families now spend more than 30% of their income on housing. For low-income families, that figure reaches 70%. All that money is money that can't be spent elsewhere. The housing crisis is costing the Quebec economy $4.2 billion. The Prime Minister promised a lot, but the reality is that housing starts are down 13%, which is not surprising given all the bureaucracy and administrative constraints facing contractors. Will the Prime Minister put an end to the bureaucracy and quickly start building?
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The housing crisis is affecting particularly young Canadians, and that's why we scrapped the GST on first homes. But as my colleague, the Minister for Housing and Infrastructure, said, we've invested $13 billion. We've done a lot of work to build thousands of units all across the country.
4,000 homes.
When my colleague's leader was minister, he presided over the construction of only 6 units. We're talking about huge orders of magnitude more.
4,000.
So we're off to a
for
good
$13
start.
billion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Mr. Speaker, some of my constituents have contacted me and my team to express their frustration with delays they experience in trying to contact the Canada Revenue Agency. We know that the dedicated CRA employees provide invaluable services to Canadians, but the fact is demand has increased significantly in recent years, and the system needs to be improved. Could the Minister of Finance and National Revenue inform this House of the steps taken by this government to improve service delivery at CRA? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, first I'd like to thank my colleague for her excellent question. The service provided by CRA is currently unacceptable, and that's why I asked CRA to present a 100-day plan to improve services that Canadians are entitled to expect. And I'd like to thank all the staff at CRA for their work. We will provide the technology, the processes, and everything they need to offer Canadians the best possible service that they are entitled to.
Mr. Speaker, the question's to the Immigration Minister. New housing completions are at record lows, but the Liberals are welcoming unprecedented numbers of people under every immigration stream. On top of this, there are potentially millions of people who have expiring visas, and the Liberals don't even know if they will leave. Why is the Immigration Minister letting in people faster than they're building homes to house people who are already here in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very fair question. She's going to answer in French.
Mr. Speaker, our action is working. In the first quarter of 2025, Canada experienced the lowest demographic growth, not counting the pandemic, since World War II. and after implementing our new plan on immigration levels, that will decrease the number of permanent residents and temporary foreign workers. Our goals are clear. We want to make our system viable and attract the best possible talent. Thank you.
So the minister claims, she just claimed that there's no problem, that everything's okay. So she's spreading misinformation because the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report says that the Liberals' current immigration plan, the one that she just said is working, leaves a massive housing gap because the minister is still setting levels way too high. If Canada's to be a place where everyone can succeed, we need to ensure that everybody has a place to live and call home. So why is the minister spreading misinformation while still welcoming unsustainable numbers of people to Canada when Canada's in the middle of a housing crisis?
Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Mr. Speaker,
Again,
let me
fair
repeat
question.
it in English so she and other members understand from her party. Our measures are working. In the first quarter of 2025, Canada recorded the smallest non-pandemic population gain since government started to keep records. 1946. We're following through on our immigration plan, and that is reducing our temporary resident number and our permanent resident number by 20%.
Is this the crazy cat lady, chain smokes from New
To our
York?
system, attract best talent. Our student and temporary worker admissions are down by 50%. Asylum claims are down by a third.
Hey, what are you talking about? Asylum claims are down.
Mr. Speaker, we have a serious situation here. The Liberals have welcomed unsustainable levels of international students to Canada every year, but didn't think about where they would live. Things are so bad that this year a CBC investigation uncovered extreme abuse by landlords, in some cases offering free or discounted rent in exchange for sexual services.
Whoa!
This isn't fair to anyone. The Liberals broke the immigration system. When will the abuse end?
Good job. The Honourable Minister of Citizenship, Refugees and Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for that important question. Canadians gave our government a mandate just a few months ago, and that is to return the international student program to sustainable levels, and we are doing exactly that. Almost 90,000 less students arrived in 2025 between January and June 2025 compared to the same year in 2024. And the latest numbers show 100,000 less study permit holders in Canada compared to the end of 2024. So we want to attract the best and the brightest talents to Canada. We will do that, but also we will protect the students that are here.
The Honourable Member for Coquitlam, Port
I'm getting a
Coquitlam.
headache just listening to these people.
Mr. Speaker, our government will win the trade war thrust upon us. By making Canada an energy superpower, diversifying our exports, and building the strongest economy in the G7, all while working with First
The strongest
Nations
economy on the
rights holders.
G7. That's all I know how to
Selling our
say.
resources responsibly will generate revenues needed to deliver the programs Canadians rely on, while helping our allies shift away from higher emissions fuel sources and taking cards away from autocrats and giving them back to Canadians. It's a win-win. Can the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources share an update with the House about Canada's work to achieve these objectives?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
I'd like to thank the member for that question. Good news, everyone. This week, we're putting one project, one review into action. This week, British Columbia and the federal government jointly approved the new Silesums LNG export terminal, led by the Nisga'a Nation, with a First Nations-owned pipeline attached. That project will be the second largest project in the history of the country. LNG Canada 1, Cedar LNG, Wood Fiber LNG, Silesum LNG. We are building the strongest economy in the G7.
I'm sorry, but if you believe that, you're
the honourable member for Kapuskasing Timmins Mushkegowuk.
Mr. Speaker, for more than 45 years, communities in Northern Ontario have endured devastating impact of U.S. tariffs on our forestry sector. In Kapuskasing,
Cap paper is a vital link for 5 sawmills, and if that link breaks, more will be challenged. That's thousands of jobs on the line, Mr. Speaker. While the federal government has committed to over $1.2 billion to support this industry, they have failed to follow through. When will they help the workers at Cap paper?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I grew up in a logging town. I know exactly what the softwood lumber industry is going through. We allocated $1.2 billion in 3 different programs to the softwood lumber industry. We are helping retool the industry, rebuild the industry for the reality that is going on in the economy today. We will make this industry strong again.
The honourable member for Rosemont-La Petite Patrie. On the Hill, since Monday, people have been reading out the names of 18,000 children in Gaza killed in the genocide unfolding before our very eyes. And it'll take more than a week to read out all their names. Kids sometimes killed by a sniper while they were just trying to find food. This tragedy calls for serious action. We have to stop selling weapons to the Netanyahu regime. We have to impose severe sanctions. We have to enforce international humanitarian law. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals must act. The whole world is watching us, and our children will ask what we did. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, the situation that Palestinians face is intolerable. The question is before the court, and we are following the situation closely. But Canada is also putting pressure on all the parties so that there's an immediate ceasefire. We won't wait to take action. That we have spent $3.5 million in aid, and we intend to recognize the Palestinian state also.
Oh, they're still doing that?
It being 3:09 p.m. pursuant to order made on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025.
Okay.
I invite all honourable members. Sorry, is that point of order?
Point of order. What do we got?
Rappel au règlement, le député de...
Rising on a point of order, the Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to, in reply to a Conservative member, the Minister replied, I will reply in English to make sure that she understands me. I would like to remind this House, as well as the Minister, that in this House we can speak in the official language of our choice. And in fact, that comment was underestimating the incredible talent of our interpreters, who I thank. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, shout out to the interpreters, for real. They're getting some slack from people online.
Noted.
So put some W's down in the chat for the interpreters, man. It's not easy to do that.
The Honourable Member for
Pierre's still
Drummond.
sitting there.
Mr. Speaker.
I wonder why Pierre's still sitting there.
My colleague made a request. The member for Berthier-Masquinongé requested that the Minister take back what they said. The Honourable Member.
Monsieur le Président, je ne vois...
Mr. Speaker, I don't see any reason why the Minister should offer an apology. There was something that the member across the way didn't understand, so she simply repeated it. The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, you know, we're at a time where I think that we need to bring some decorum to this place. And what the Minister said... no, in all seriousness, what the Minister said undermined the seriousness of the debate. It made light, and to my Bloc colleague's point, she didn't do her job as a minister there, so I'd like an apology too.
It's so ridiculous. They cut the feed. I don't blame them. I don't blame them, man. Oh, Mr. Speaker, they owe me an apology. No, they owe me an apology. It's literally just like high school bullshit. That's all it is. It's schoolyard bullshit. They cut the feed. It is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that is unfortunately the peak of the week when it comes to Parliament. Wednesdays is the big day, even though Carney reversed Justin Trudeau's implementation of Leader versus Leader Day. He still decided to show up. So we still technically got a Leader versus Leader Day, sort of. Not really. It's just a regular day. But Pierre and Carney were there. Wednesdays is usually the peak, though, because I think Carney might be taking off tomorrow. I don't know. We're still going to stream question period. I do hope that he is there. Again, we don't see his itinerary till the day rolls over into tomorrow. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Like the video. What are you doing? Why do I even have to ask? Just like the video. It helps fight tariffs. It's patriotic. We're sticking it to whoever you want to stick it to by liking the video. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification. Turn on post notifications so that you can get notified when we live stream. And I'll see you all same time tomorrow. Carnage is off to Mexico, I'm seeing. Thanks for the stream. Awesome. I'm just reading the comments here on my phone, guys. Thanks, man. I had a lot of fun doing this. Oh, there were some super chats. I'm going to read that, actually. I do have a bad habit of just ending the stream. So let me pull that up. Let me pull that up here. Take care. House Canada says Ellen. Thank you, Ellen. Let's see what we got here. Okay. YouTube actually now changed so you can see there's a filter to just turn on to see the super chats, so they don't disappear now. That's good. Object class Ketter with the 999 saying pro-Palestine attack PA government. The MN attacker had a connection to Waltz. Mr. Pelosi attacked by drug addict. After Floyd, people burned cities. After Kirk, we prayed. We are not the same. Those are recent. That's right. Huge difference between how the right handles certain things and how the left handles certain things. Absolutely agree. Andre with the 5 saying it's funny how you can guess with 100% accuracy which party someone is affiliated with just by their face. I mean, it's pretty close. With their face, how they dress, the car they drive, or how they speak. Sometimes it's only one of them. Sometimes it's a bit of a combination, but you can pretty much tell. Andre with the 5 again saying how much unintelligible rambling, how much unintelligible rambling, how much. So that's the thing, is they're driving up our deficit through the roof. They criticized, even Carney criticized Trudeau's deficit of $60 billion, and we're going to see something atrocious. It's going to be like $130 billion is my guess for this year. That's insane. Jay English with a 5 saying, I'm sorry, but we cannot work with these effing people. They do nothing but lie and constantly gaslight. I'm foaming at the mouth. There was a tremendous amount of gaslighting today. Like huge amounts. I've never seen that much gaslighting by the Liberals. It's frustrating, man. I'm with you guys on that one. And then Jay English again with the 5 saying GFYM. Good for you, man. Is that what that means? That was a reply to somebody else's comment. So there you go, folks. Looks like we're done for the day. Apparently Mexico doesn't want him. I don't know. It's all weird right now, but at least we've got the stream still going, right? At least we've got that going. So that's going to be fun. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's see here. Oh, someone snuck another one in. Mig Montes for the 699. Saying, do we really believe the God of Israel is the God of the universe? If so, and he wishes to conquer Gaza, there is no point by opposing this. I don't know. I'm still pretty new to religion, so I don't really have an answer for that. But thank you for the super chat, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. That seems to be everything today. Got a little bit of news in. Got a little bit of the good stuff of Parliament. So. All set to go. Peace and love, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go touch some grass. I'm going to go touch some grass, too. I'm going to go touch some grass. Try and enjoy the sun.